Hello, welcome back to Story Time with Dog. Today's story is called I'm the Big Sister Now by Michelle Emmert. Oh, it looks like a pretty good book. I think you might like it. Let's read it. I hope everybody's having a good day. I'm having a pretty good day. You know why? Because I get to read to you. I love it. All right, I'm the Big Sister Now by Michelle Emmert. Illustrated by Gail, Owens. I picked this up at the library too. I bought it for $1. Oh, this is Michelle and Amy Emmert. Amy Emmert, the older sister of the author, was born severely handicapped with cerebral palsy. In this book, Michelle tells her sister Amy's story. Oh, dedicated to my sister Amy and all her friends. Do you know of anyone who has cerebral palsy? I know of a few. And or any other diseases that are like that. I mean, it's pretty bad. It's pretty sad. But, they are still people, so you have to treat them well and with respect. It's just that their bodies aren't exactly in their control much anymore, so we have to help them out. All about Amy. When my sister Amy was born, my mom and dad knew right away that she was going to be a special little girl. Part of her brain did not work because she did not get enough oxygen during birth. This kind of brain damage is called cerebral palsy. Some people with cerebral palsy have a limp or a hand that is crooked at the wrist, so they can't hang on to things. Or maybe they are a little hard to understand when they talk. Some others who can't walk can still run their own wheelchairs. But Amy is severely handicapped. She cannot sit up, use her hands, walk, talk, read, write, or do anything a normal child can do. She has always been in a wheelchair that was made just for her. Even though she can't do very many things, she is still a great sister, and I would like to tell you about her. How I feel about Amy. Amy was 5 when I was born. I didn't know then that she was different from any other big sister. I liked being near her. She made sounds like me, and I felt happy and safe beside her. After I grew out of my youth bed, I told my mom and dad that Amy was scared and needed me, but I was the one who was really afraid. So I started sleeping with Amy. When I had a bad dream or was scared of the dark, I just cuddled up to her, and we both went to sleep. Now I'm not scared of the dark anymore, but I still like to be with Amy. Sometimes I think she is really better than than other big sisters. My friends say their older sisters are always bossing them around. Amy never tells me what to do, and she always listens. Amy gets sick a lot. Once she was so sick we thought she might die. I know she won't live as long as I will, and that makes me sad. I wonder when she will die and how. I hope it won't hurt her when she dies. It's lonely at night when Amy is in the hospital, and we are all glad when she comes home. When Amy is well, I don't worry about her. I don't think I'm jealous of the time Mom and Dad spend with Amy because she can't help being sick. When she's okay, they do special things with me. As I grow older, I get bigger, like most kids do, but Amy doesn't grow very fast. She is 14 and looks like she's only 5 or 6. I'm 9, but I can hold Amy or even carry her if I'm very careful. Mom says I've become the big sister because I'm taller and because I help Amy to feel happy and safe. Being her big sister makes me feel good inside too. How others feel about Amy. One time when I was little, Mom, Amy, and I went to the park. A guy on a huge motorcycle pulled up. He had long, greasy hair and a jacket with the name of a gang on it. My mom was worried he'd cause trouble, and she couldn't see a policeman or anyone else around. But when he got close, Mom saw he had tears in his eyes. He said, "Can I do anything for your little girl?" My mom was relieved and answered all his questions. Amy always brings out the best in people. When I was about 7, we went to a basketball game. A couple of girls started staring at Amy. I went over to Amy and hugged her. Then I glared at the girls, and they went away. Amy does not like people staring or pointing at her. We think she gets uncomfortable. But we do not mind having people ask questions because it shows they care and are interested. People usually say things like, "Was she born the way she is?" Or, "Can she walk or talk?" Sometimes they ask whether she's happy or sad when she makes loud noises, or why she always has her mouth open. I can answer most questions. Her noises are happy or sad, depending on what is happening, and she cannot close her mouth completely because of the way it is formed. My family went to my grandma and grandpa's church last year, and someone we didn't know said, "Merry Christmas, Amy." We couldn't figure out how he knew her, but then later we noticed that Amy's wheelchair had a name tag tied on it. It made us feel good that people cared enough about Amy to include her. Sometimes when I go to the pool, Amy will come. She is pretty light and can float without a life jacket if people hold their hands under her head. Little kids 5 or 6 years old will float her by keeping her head up out of the water and pulling her around the pool. Sometimes they argue over whose turn it is to float Amy. She laughs a lot while she floats and smiles at the person pulling her. Mom sits right nearby so she can help if Amy starts to slip under. Oh, I bet that's scary. Amy started going to a special school when she was 1 year old. All the kids there were handicapped, but in different ways. Some of them can walk a little or play with toys by themselves. Some kids learn to feed themselves and to use the bathroom. The kids who can move their hands but cannot talk learn sign language. With the teacher's help, some kids can paint pictures. There are special exercise mats and the balls in the classroom and a standing board to help kids stand in front of a desk. Amy likes to play in a big playpen filled with styrofoam. I bet that would be fun. Teachers from other rooms like to visit Amy, especially when they're sad or lonely. Amy makes people feel happy and important. She is very pretty, and she almost always smiles when you talk to her. Her eyes tell you how much she likes life, and you think, if she's not sad, then I shouldn't be, because I can do a lot of things. And Amy is a very good listener. You can tell her secrets, and you know she won't tell anyone. She'll listen as long as you want to talk, without telling you she's too busy or that what you're saying is stupid. You always feel better after you talk to her. How to take care of Amy. Amy's brain damage was severe, and she cannot even hold her head up by herself. We hold it up for her when we are playing with her, and when she sits in her wheelchair, the high back holds her head up. Her wheelchair also tilts back a little instead of sitting perfectly straight, and that stops her head from falling forward. We push her around the house in the wheelchair and go for long walks outside. Until she was 13, Amy ate regular food, except blended. But when she swallowed her food, she would often choke. Then the food would go down into her lungs instead of into her stomach, and she would get very sick with pneumonia. She would start breathing loudly, and it seemed as if she was working very hard just to push the air in and out. She would also get mucus in her throat, and we had to use a suction machine to get it out. Many times we couldn't make her well at home, and she would have to go into the hospital. Now she has a gastronomy tube, I think I said that right, that we feed her through. It is about the size of a pencil and goes straight into her stomach, right into her belly, right there. We get Isocal, a special liquid food at the drugstore, and she is healthier now than when she ate regular food. So that's how they feed her. They put the Isocal, it's like a super liquid food, and they pour it into there, and it goes straight into her belly right there. Amy has a special bathtub that my dad and grandpa built in her bedroom. She catches a cold very easily, so when it's time for her bath, we make her room nice and warm. Then we just move her to the bathtub, to her dressing table, and we can bundle her up in towels. The tub is higher from the floor than most tubs, so whoever bathes Amy will not have to bend too far. It is very shallow because Amy is too heavy to lift out of the deep tub. Dad and Grandpa put a regular toilet under the tub, and we can rinse her diapers right away, because there is a lot to do to make Amy comfortable. We are trying to make taking care of her easy. Amy has a big waterbed in her room. Since she is thin and can't roll over by herself, it would hurt to lie on a regular bed all night. But with her waterbed, she feels like she's floating at the pool, and she doesn't get tired of lying in the same place. A heater in the bed keeps her warm and cozy all the time. That sounds very nice. My friends and I like to bounce Amy on her bed. We get it rolling like big waves, and she slides back and forth and rolls from side to side. Sometimes she laughs so hard she can hardly get her breath, and we have to stop for a minute. Then we do it again. It looks like they're having a lot of fun. Even Amy's got a big smile. If Amy starts crying, I hold her and talk or read to her, and she stops. Sometimes when I babysit Amy, I play with her. If I cough, sneeze, snore, clap, slam drawers, or move my head up and down, Amy laughs. We don't know why she laughs at these weird things, but she does. Amy likes to watch me too, or do things like play the violin, carve pumpkins, and decorate the Christmas tree. When I send cards to good friends, I help Amy sign the cards with an X, or I help her write her name. I put the pen in her fingers, and then I take hold of her hand and move it to make the letters we want. It doesn't look quite as good as if I did it myself, but our friends think it's neat, and so do I. Even though I am younger, I like taking care of Amy. Special times in Amy's life. Before I was born, my dad had a small motorcycle, and he would take Amy for rides. Mom and Dad would strap her to my dad's chest so she couldn't fall off. The pictures look pretty funny, but she loved the rides. My mom and dad said it was very special for Amy when I was born because she loves babies. She liked it when I learned to crawl by going over her tummy. We used to talk in baby language to each other too. Amy liked to hold me. She would sit in her wheelchair and Mom would put me in her lap. Since Amy's arms bend at the elbow and are very stiff, she could hold me without trying. We went everywhere like that until I was about 9 months old. Then I became too heavy and squashed her, so I couldn't ride anymore. Aww. My grandpa Rupp lives on a farm in Iowa, and when Amy was 6, he took her for a ride on his big new tractor. Amy liked being up so high, she laughed a lot. Until I was about 6, we went to Pixieland several times a summer. All the rides were made just for little kids. Amy would pay for one ticket, but she would get as many rides as she wanted on the merry-go-round. The owner of Pixieland liked to watch Amy's eyes open wide and hear her squeal because she was having so much fun on the pretend horses. Amy swings in something my dad and Grandpa invented. It's a chain that we hook up to a regular swing chain. We hook the other end to her wheelchair, and someone pushes her. She can go high enough for my dad to run underneath. She likes it a lot, and when she gets tired, she just stops laughing. When Amy was 9, she was a ring bearer in our friend's wedding. She wore a long dress with satin ribbons on it. We curled her hair, and she looked beautiful. The night before the wedding, she was so excited that she kept squealing and laughing and making loud sounds. We were worried she would do the same thing during the wedding, but she didn't make a sound until it was all over. We were very proud of her. When Amy has a birthday, she is just like any other person. She is happy, gets presents, and has a birthday cake and ice cream. We used to smash the ice cream and cake for her, but now that she has the gastronomy tube, she doesn't eat regular food. We always bake her a cake, though, and light the candles when we sing. Birthdays are a fun time for Amy. Although Amy is loved by a lot of people, I think Mom, Dad, and I are most important to her. We like to do things with her. Last year, we got her a bike cart for her birthday. She likes me to pull her in it, or in her big wagon. Even on a cold day, Amy and I bundle up and I take her out. She laughs when we take rides. The bumpier the ride, the better she likes it. When she laughs, she makes me laugh too. My sister Amy is a special person. I love her a lot, and I'm glad I told you about her. These are people who are extra special to Amy. Amy has made many friends, but a few have been extra special. These are some. Aunt Ruthie Shoemaker. She is a nurse. She's always there to help when Amy needs something. When Amy was little, Mom used to call Aunt Ruthie in the middle of the night to ask her questions about Amy's temperature or breathing. Amy and I have taken lots of vacations at Aunt Ruthie's house, and we always have the best time. Colleen Evans' family and Cash, their dog. They all love Amy. Colleen helped take care of Amy for 5 years. Cash is a Saint Bernard with a head the size of a basketball. It is hard for Cash to jump because he is old. But when Amy visits, he jumps for her and then lays his head on her lap. Uncle Herbie Rowling. He met Amy when he was in high school, and he cared so much about her that when he got married, he wanted Amy to be a part of his wedding. Grandpa Rupp. On his visits, he holds, talks, and reads to Amy. When she was a tiny baby and would wake very early in the morning, we would get her up, and the two of them would rock and talk until everyone else woke up. They've been special friends ever since. Jessie Breeze. Because our grandmas and grandpas live far away, Jessie is our adopted grandma. She and Amy used to cuddle on the sofa and sing and sing. Amy loves to sing, even though she doesn't sound too good. She says, ah. Amy and I missed Jessie when she moved. Vicky Welcome. She was Amy's teacher and took very good care of her. We knew she'd be sure Amy was played with and got moved around when she should, and had a sweater on if it got cold. And she used to hug Amy a lot too. Mary Ann Smith. Even though she's lived all over the world, she never forgets about Amy. Now she lives nearby and visits Amy often. When Amy was in the hospital, Mary Ann would sit with her and make sure she had everything she needed. And this little section here tells about cerebral palsy. I'm not going to read that, but you can look that up if you wish. This is a really good book. I'm really happy that Michelle took the time to write a book about her sister and the real life experiences they had together, and the good times and the bad times. And also the pictures by Gail Owens are wonderful. I think she did a wonderful job drawing these pictures because they look like they're just taken out of real life, and I think it's beautiful. So I think everyone should read this book. I think it's a very good book. I'm sure it's on Amazon or something out there. You can find it. I found it at the library, so maybe it's at your library. That's probably a good place to start looking. I think everyone should read it. I really think all the kids should read it too. It may make them how to react if they are around a person who has cerebral palsy or another disease such as or like that. I think it's also good for if another little child is girls or boys is in the same position as Michelle and has to take care of their sister or brother who has cerebral palsy. Maybe they can read this book and see the similarities between their life and what happened between Michelle and Amy. I think everybody should read this book. So anyway, I hope you liked this book. I certainly did. And thank you for coming to Storytime with Dog. I know this is not the normal kind of book I usually read, but I thought it was necessary. Sometimes I read books that may not be so much fun and happy and, once upon a time type of books, but I like reading these kinds of books too. This kind of book also has a once upon a time feel to it, I think. It didn't actually say the words, but I think it was in there. And also a happily ever after too. Okay, thank you for coming to Storytime with Dog, and I'll see you next time.